Hi everyone, I just thought I'd pop on to say hello. I've gotten back home from a beautiful naming day for a beautiful little girl called Violet. It was a beautiful afternoon, surrounded by her family and friends. But one of my really lovely friends has suggested that I get on and do a little bit of some info videos for you. So I thought I might create a few little series of videos to talk to you all about some tips and tricks to help hopefully with the planning of your wedding or your special occasion, vow renewal, commitment ceremony and naming days. It can be quite a full-on experience, especially if you haven't had to plan a big celebration like that before. I've got over 12 years events management experience and I recently went through the whole process of planning our wedding when we got married May last year. So I know what it's like to be on that side. So some things that I can really suggest is to really lean on your community and especially the people involved in your wedding. Don't try to do it all yourself. It can be very emotionally draining and quite stressful. Not trying to scare anyone. It is still a beautiful day, but there's a lot that goes into it that I don't think a lot of people really think about. But it's also really difficult to not take on board everyone's opinions. Make sure you stay true to what you and your partner want for your special day, because it is your day, not their day. So I thought I'd talk to you all today a bit about venues, trying to find venues, what to look for, things to consider. So obviously the main thing to think of is what kind of venue and style and vibe do you want for your day? Do you want an outdoor ceremony? Do you want a vineyard? Do you want something to look like a chapel, but that's maybe not necessarily a religious church? Or obviously if you choose to go to a church, absolutely whatever you choose to do. Main thing to think of is obviously making sure if it is an outdoor ceremony that you have a wet weather or plan B spot to get married. Because the plan B isn't always for wet weather. It can be for extreme heat, strong winds, because obviously strong winds can make it very uncomfortable for guests, and also they can't hear you. Or the ceremony, obviously, and they do want to be able to hear your love story and why they're all there to celebrate. But also, just because it's not raining on your day, but if it's rained the days prior, consider how boggy the ground might be. That's also something to consider. You don't want to be sinking in the ground, muddy dresses, all that sort of stuff before you've even gotten married. I understand if you want to have a bit of fun with the photos afterwards, do what you want to do. But something to consider is obviously when you get access to the venue. If it's something that you get a day or two prior, then you've got time to set up when you have to be out by and have the venue completely cleared, because a lot of places might only give you access the day of or the day before, depending on if it's a dry hire sort of scenario. But something to consider is also the pack up that might be required to clear the venue. Something to think about. What's included in the package? How long have you got the venue for? Are there any restrictions? Access for cars, so parking, but also if you're thinking of bringing people out via a bus, is there enough space for that bus to pull up safely, potentially turn if it needs to get back out, or parking for the bus, because not all spaces have that. And again, ground, depending on if it's rainy or steep or a lot of potholes, something to consider. That's also something to consider for wedding cars. A lot of people really like the old classic muscle cars, but some of those cars are lower or also quite expensive. So those drivers of those vehicles are obviously going to want to protect the safety of that vehicle. So really unlevel, uneven terrain, potholes and stuff, they're things to consider for that as well. Power is a big thing, because yes, you want to make sure you got power, but also where in the venue is the power, because that may impact where, if you're having a DJ or a band and they need power, they will need to be set up near power, or otherwise you're going to have power leads running all around the room. So that's something to consider that will help with the setup and planning of your floor plan for the actual reception itself. Vendor meals. Make sure that you feed those people that are staying for the reception. So typically photographer, videographer, entertainment, if you've got a coordinator staying on, or if you've got an MC that's not a family or friend that's actually a guest. The venues will typically have vendor meals, and they're not normally the same price as what guests are, but also dietary, making sure you've obviously thought about all of that, because that's a safety thing. If you are doing a dry hire and it's not necessarily a food van that you're bringing in. Think about, do you have a kitchen? Do you have to hire one in for the caterers, or consider that they may need to factor that into their quote as well? And obviously bar, but bins. Think about bins. A lot of people don't think about making sure they've got somewhere and plenty of spots for people to put their rubbish. So that's something to consider. I realise that I've probably spoken a little bit longer than anticipated, so I'll wrap it up with that one, and I'll start again with the rest of my tips and tricks. Thanks, bye.